a big complaint that we get here on this channel a lot is, well, you're not an AI expert. Why the fuck should we listen to you? You right. These are just observations that I've noted after looking at hundreds of Britney Spears' videos. So let's ask the belly of the beast itself. ChatGPT, what are typical glitches in AI videos? And spoiler alert, if you wanted to know if most of what we've observed on this channel lines up with what ChatGPT said, well, I made the video, didn't I? I'm not fucking humble enough to make a video if I'm completely wrong. I'm using the newest version of ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT 01. It is a preview. It basically uses advanced reasoning. So unlike me, it thinks a little bit before it speaks, you know? It's real unfortunate. Not everyone has the gift of the gab like ChatGPT. I do. That's why I don't think before I speak. ChatGPT is also probably more humble. I'm not. Okay, well, the reason I brought that up is that because it's reasoning, it's going to be a little bit more accurate compared to regular ChatGPT and its answers. So it's not going to tell you that strawberry only has 2 R's and gaslight you. That's actually the one thing they pointed out. They're like, it could spell strawberry now. It fucking knows. And I'm like, okay. So it did actually think quite long before it answered this. So I'm going to just give you the summary highlights, and then I'm going to scroll through the video so you can pause and read if you want. But I did actually a first take where I read it and then I got tired. They say pretty much the things that we've noted here: facial distortions, they can appear warped, they can be deformed when the subject moves their head quickly, which we've seen with deep fakes. The eyes don't align, the mouth doesn't sync sometimes. And this is probably the most important one. What we do on this channel is called frame by frame. They talk about it right here. Inconsistent frame-to-frame rendering. Objects or features may change in appearance between frames, leading to a flickering effect. They also talk about morphing a little bit down. This is often due to the AI generating each frame independently without enough temporal coherence. What does that mean? It means what we've been talking about, which is that the AI doesn't realize it's one whole video. So each frame is made independently, and that's why there are different glitches. There's unnatural movement. They talk about texture issues. Background artifacts. This is the morphing that we talk about a lot here on this channel. The background may warp, shift, or contain blurry patches, especially around the edges or moving objects or characters, which we talked about in the recent Britney Spears video that I said that there seems to be a morphing effect with movement or objects that are in movement. Again, I'm not a fucking expert. You're right. I'm just a person, a clever person nonetheless, but a person who has observations and then tried to verify those observations. I get some of the wildest critiques on this channel. One time somebody was like, so you just have observations? I'm like, well, yeah, I have observations and they keep lining up. So I'm pretty sure this is what's happening. And they're like, that's not how science works. And I'm like, that is actually exactly how science works. A hypothesis is an observation that you try to verify through consecutive tests. If the tests line up after so and so many numbers, like maybe 100 or so, then you're like, oh, I think that's on the money. That's how science fucking works. Some of you need to go back to school. How does science work with observations? Thinking. Yeah, you think, ChatGPT. Mapping out the concept. See, he's thinking way harder than I am. Keeping closed tabs. Science works by making observations. Science begins with careful observations of phenomenon, event, or behaviors. These observations can be made directly with our senses or indirectly using instruments or technology. Hey, that's what we do here, man. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, basically, this is just a fuck you to someone who told me that that wasn't science. Science, bitch. Science. Sometimes people are like, you're just a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, I'm just logical, bitch. I'd love to be on the magic school bus. Get in the fucking bus. It's science, bitch. It's science. Shut the fuck up and learn. Was that digression necessary? No, but that's why you're on this page, because we have a little bit of spiciness. I actually can't take spicy food, so that's ironic. At the time when I started making these videos, there was not a lot of research on AI. Luckily, there is now, and ChatGPT actually will give us sources later if you're more interested and you want to cross-check and cross-reference whatever I've talked about here. You'll see inaccurate reflections and shadows, which we've seen in the Kate Middleton videos and Britney Spears. Lip sync errors, eyes and gaze problems. Eyes might not track correctly. This video is over long and it's actually like losing my attention. So blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the next part. Blinking may be unnatural or frequent, which we've seen. Remember when they close their eyes, but it's open? Like the eyes closed, but then you can see the pupil still from behind. It's kind of like a weird kind of transparency thing. We see it a lot. So then I asked the age-old question, well, how do we know it's not compression? Turns out for someone who's not like a fucking expert, I was on the money. Compression is the whole image, whereas AI glitches are specific parts, which they'll say so here. AI-generated video glitches differ from compression and face filter glitches in their origins characteristics, which is why a lot of times I go in depth telling you how the process is made. So they say pretty much the same thing about face filters, about tracking issues. Right here, they talk about the things that we see, that it's basically an algorithm problem. There's, they don't have realistic models, anatomy, physics, and then the maintaining temporal coherence across frames. That's basically what we see frame by frame when we see different things, because again, like I said earlier and what they said earlier, it's independently making new frames per each scene, which they talk about here. During the content creation phase, where the AI attempts to generate new frames or modify existing ones based on learned data. Then they just give like a summary of how compression is created and how face filters are created. And we've gone through that already, but you can pause the read. It could be varied. With AI, it could be varied where the glitch is. Objects or features may suddenly change or flicker between frames because of rendering, unnatural movements, all that stuff. The scope is the most important part. It can affect any part of the scene, including backgrounds, objects, and characters. Now, what they said about compression, blockiness, remember? We wrote that on the truck art I made you guys. Blurriness, color banding, mosquito noise. The difference is it affects the entire video uniformly due to compression algorithm data reduction. And generally consistent artifacts that appear uniformly across the video. Now, face filters was interesting. Misaligned filters, what we talked about, tracking and mapping issues, flickering parts as the filter disappears or warping, real-time dependency. Glitches are dynamic upon the user's movements in the environment, which we've seen before when someone is wearing whatever used to be the Britney filter. When it would always be really quick clips with Sam, about 2 seconds each, and then sometimes you would see the filter lift and the nose change. So the scope is primarily the area where the filter is applied. Remember, Britney had a bunch of different body sizes. Why? Because they don't make a body filter yet. Not that I know of, at least. So you would see that they don't have something to cover that up, but they have something to cover up the face, which is why the face would be an issue of where the tracking would be. Whereas again, with AI, it could be any different aspect of the video. And compression, it's going to be the whole clip is fucked. I honestly hate people who are like, you just want to be right. How do we know you're not an expert? I don't want to be right. I actually want to know the fucking answer. Like, I'm just like, what the fuck is happening here? And I just go where it leads, That's good storytelling. That's good detective work. That's good science. It's not good science having like a decision that you already have an idea of what's happening and then you try to fit your argument into that. That's a terrible argument. It's not logical. It's not demure. It's not cutesy. They give you some technical underpinnings and stuff. You can pause to read. Face filter tracking issues, temporal, it's just what we talked about right now. And then they talk about uncanny valley. They talked about how like compression looks ugly, HD ugly. And then they talk about, I don't know, they said face filters just might make people laugh. Then they gave solutions, but we don't give a shit about that part, so we're going to skip it. And then examples in practice. Deep fake artifacts in deep fake videos, misalignment of facial features and inconsistent expression across frames. AI content where characters have an unusual movement or distorted appearances, or you'll see it in like a lot of like Instagram videos recently, and then you do see the morphing or people's faces subtly change into like people that they are not. And then compression issue, like a low grade YouTube video, Netflix video sent over messaging. My favorite is if you send it from an iPhone to an Android, whatever shit quality they get, that's a good idea of what compression is. And then face filters, like we've talked about previously, Snapchat or Instagram filters not aligning properly, video conference tools, the cat guy who was like, Your Honor, I'm not a cat. So in summary, video glitches in AI are inherent to the creation process by the algorithm, leading to unique artifacts that stem from computational and modeling limitations. Compression issues are a byproduct of making videos smaller, and it degrades the whole video, whereas face filters occur in real time, and they're caused by tracking and recognition and facial recognition errors specific to the user's intention with the software. So again, it would be misalignment with the face. Understanding these differences helps diagnose the problem. Then I said, okay, well, ChatGPT, what are the sources for the AI glitches that you had? And then here are the sources that they gave. There are numerous blogs and books. Here are academic papers that you can look up if you want. I probably will look up a little bit later if I'm bored. But I feel like we've seen a lot of what we just already discussed. Industry articles and reports, expert blogs and analysis, conferencing proceedings, and then they even have Reddit posts by people who are in programming and work with this on a daily basis. books and educational resources. And my favorite thing is a lot of times if you look at my comments, somebody will be like, video editor here, cinematographer here, videographer here, photographer here. And the experts in these fields will always be like, no, I agree. You're completely right. And I always comment, well, I love it when you guys see this shit. Validation. So yeah, I'm not an AI expert, but a lot of the experts seem to agree with what we talk about on this page. So I don't know. You tell me. I'm not an expert, but you know, I am a person with fucking eyes.